Welcome to episode 206 of Saturday Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South and Texas Pete. On today's episode, we preview week 9 in college football. You can find this show on our website, SaturdayDownSouth.com, and Apple and Spotify. Don't forget to join us for the live recording of the show every Sunday at 8 Eastern Time on the Saturday Down South YouTube page. And as always, please go share with your friends. We'd heavily appreciate it. And now, here's the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South and Texas Pete. I'm your host, Tyler Huck, and with me as always is my co-host, Chris Marler. Chris, people be cheating out here.
People be cheating. People be cheating. You know what this is? I guess we'll just get right into it. Yeah, people are cheating. People are cheating, and it couldn't happen to a worse group of people. Because I'll tell you why this is so funny. When this first came up, the stuff with Michigan, I genuinely was like, I kind of respect Harbaugh more. I kind of respect this program more because they were finally doing shit to win. And then like all the stuff came out, and it's been incredible. Like it's been so funny to watch because I've listened to Michigan and their fans like look down their nose on the rest of college football and especially SEC teams for decades. And now they're in trouble, or are they?
Well, my first question to you is, do you think this is like, what kind of trouble do you think Michigan should be in for this, or Harbaugh should be in for this? Like, what scale of bad do you think this is?
Bad. Real bad. Let me start by saying this.
Bad. Real bad.
Yeah. I think it is. I don't know. Like on a scale of like bad to real bad, it's like real bad. Because it's illegal what they're doing, like in terms of the NCAA. Yeah. And I shit on the NCAA all the time, but like this is a rule. You can't gain competitive advantage by spying on people's games. So one thing that I hate, and I kept bringing this up last year. Let's not argue in hypotheticals. I don't want to argue in hypotheticals. Well, something I found out about myself, Tyler, and I'll just admit it to the world. I kind of like arguing in hypotheticals when it's not Alabama. So let's argue in hypotheticals for a second, and let's just be honest. Because if this was Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State, I think the Michigan fans and the collective college football world would be losing their minds. And it's funny for so many reasons because, like, one, why do you need to cheat? You play one of the easiest schedules in the country. And that, like, right now, do you know what their strength of schedule is right now?
I don't.
I'm going to take a guess.
119th.
110th. So close. You want to guess what Georgia's is?
119th.
109th.
Ah, okay.
Those are your top two teams. It's almost November.
Yep.
And Georgia fans, before you start getting into, because I saw it today on Twitter, they were like, well, wait till after the next 4 weeks. It's almost November. And it's 109.
They do have the tough stretch of their schedule.
Oh, yeah. They got to play Mizzou at home, right? That's
yeah. Tennessee on the road. Florida, an up-and-coming Florida squad.
We'll get to Georgia in a little while. But no, the Michigan thing, it's like Jim Harbaugh said directly, it's hard to compete or hard to beat the cheaters a couple years ago. And all this stuff about competitive, all the competitive advantage stuff, but they had the 74th ranked strength of schedule going into the Ohio State game a year ago. We're going into November and they have the 110th ranked strength of schedule now. It's hilarious that you're having to cheat to beat those teams. Now, I will also say, like, I think Michigan's a good football team this year. The dominance they've had is really, really impressive. They're averaging. They've had one team score in double digits against them, Tyler. One, and it was 10 points.
I mean, it's not like, yes, the competition's not great, but it's still people that within your division and within your conference. So it's not like it's everybody's Ball State, you know?
Right. But I don't know if Ball State beats Michigan State. I'll just say that. I don't know. But no,
What's the
it's
spread on that
been
game? Hypotheticals. Well, speaking of hypotheticals, what's the spread on
as
Ball
long as it's
State,
not
Michigan
Bama, I'm totally fine with that.
State?
No, I do think that this is really bad, and I think the optics of it are even worse because you've been cheating for what? Like you haven't won anything, and then you look at like what happens when you talk about them getting to the postseason and they're playing teams outside their conference they're not cheating in, and they get boat raced, and also like now
It is odd that they just absolutely boat raced Ohio State back to back.
right.
That is odd to me. Like Ohio State is not that bad of a team. I mean, they got boat raced by Michigan, and then they went in their next game. They had a tight game with Georgia.
Yeah.
So yeah, look. I mean, it's kind of been talked about ad nauseum already, but I'm kind of on the side that everyone steals signs during games.
No. Let me stop you right there. Not everyone.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the worst argument being made. And our social media guy, Alex Ansed, hold on. I'm having to lie to the GF, and I haven't watched something on Netflix, so we can watch it together. Cardinal Sin. Alex Ansed was something this other day, and I love Alex to death. I know he's not listening. I love Alex to death. He does a really, really good job for us. Big Michigan guy. He's going through it right now. And I remember when I was his age, or even like if I was my age now, I don't know how I would handle this if this is Bama. Probably the same way he is and other Michigan fans are. Everyone does it, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. If everyone does it, how come y'all are the only fucking idiots that got caught? Like,
well, there's a difference. I mean, to me, I've heard enough coaches come out basically that have been asked about this. Like Norvell got asked about it today, and he was like, "Look, sign stealing has been going on since the dawn of time."
mm-hmm.
But he's like, when you're actively going to people's games and like staking out, he's like, that's unethical. And I think that if that's true, I think that's a very unethical thing to do.
You know,
and that's basically my exact stance.
When I was like a senior in high school, one of my like jobs for like date night money, my math teacher, I forgot his name. My math teacher, my senior year in the fall, would pay me $50 a weekend to go to whoever his son's 6 and under team was. Whoever they were playing the week after, I would go film their games.
No.
I swear to God. I totally forgot about that until like right now.
What could you possibly be scouting of a 6-year-old game?
Who the biggest player was, and it was pretty obvious. It was like always some like somehow like some 5-foot black kid like that was like towering above everyone else. There was a kid from Collins who I think ended up going somewhere in college. I remember he was like this like I swear to God he had muscles. He was like this tall kid. He was like number 48, and I was like, that has got to be the best player. And I was like, oh, don't get ahead of yourself, Chris. Scout him out. It's like, no, he's the best player. He's
cutting abilities.
Not a single pass was thrown that entire year, Tyler. Not a single pass. No, but like I do think you're right. I think it's unethical at this point because it's like no one else is doing that. And then let's also get into,
except for possibly Dion, who was like, I don't see the big deal here.
Well, I mean,
like any coaches that come out are like, oh yeah, I mean, you still got to run the plays, so it's like to me, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, yeah, okay, so you're definitely doing this too,
right? Or you're gonna start doing it, and you hope it doesn't get like completely banned. One of my favorite parts about this too is like just the hilarity of it is so insane to me because this guy is like I don't think he is a total idiot, right? Like, but he's a staffer that was making
like an idiot savant,
huh?
I think he's like an idiot savant.
He might be. That's such a good like he's Rain Man. He wrote a 600-page manifesto about how he was going to take over the entire program.
That's weird.
That's super weird. Also, like anytime you catch yourself writing a manifesto, maybe we take a step back and we realize, hey, like that's a bad word. Maybe we don't write the rest of this manifesto. Maybe we make it a manifest. Maybe we make it a manny, and then we go get a petty and just fucking call it a day.
Yeah. Manifesto. When you get to the point in life where you're writing a manifesto, things have gone wrong somewhere.
somewhere.
Yeah.
I will say it's fascinating for a lot of reasons. Have you seen the John Mulaney clip or from his new stand-up where he's talking about getting out of rehab?
I have not.
Okay, I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you this question, but I don't think any of our listeners are going to be too shocked to hear in my 37 years that I've bought drugs before or done things that are illegal. And John Mulaney does this thing where he's talking about like getting something on Venmo. And he's like, it is astonishing to me that normal people are just on Venmo. Like Venmo is for drug deals and nothing else. And this guy was openly sending money. Here's the thing about Venmo, Tyler. And I'm currently banned from Venmo because of my ex-fiance, and it's a story we're not going to get into, but like,
oh my God.
I'm not allowed to be on Venmo. And there was something where like when you're using Venmo, you don't have to put any of it public at all.
Right. Yeah, you can
You
make it
don't
a
have to
private
make a joke
chain.
about it. You don't have to make, it's for sex or it's for drugs. It's for like, you don't have to do any of that. You can just keep it private and keep it moving.
This guy was sending messages with like for the ticks and like the eyes emojis and like binoculars emojis.
GA. Yeah. It's like the did you see the SEC Shorts video today?
No.
Oh my God. I implore everyone. I know that like when you're done listening to this podcast, write it down, or I mean, don't go do it now unless we've already captured you as a listener and you're going to come back. But SEC Shorts, the guys like Josh Sneed and all them put out a video of it today, and it was so fucking hilarious because like the whole video is like, it's like him, telling these people, they're like, oh yeah, it's like, do you have the money to buy, or like, are you ready to go buy the tickets? And they're like, yeah, I bought a whole bunch of cash. I'm going to buy it from a scalper. So no one has there's no loose ends or whatever. And he's like, I think we'll just use my Amex because those are expensive tickets and we could use the Sky Miles. Hold on. Drew Butler's texting me. Yeah. I'll send the link at 9. At 9. Sorry. But yeah, so it was just hilarious that they went through it because it was like, I don't know what they could have been thinking, how this wouldn't get caught. Because here's the other thing too about Michigan. Now you're at like the top of the mountain. Like, of course people are going to try to bring you down. And I don't think it's sour grapes or bad sportsmanship or whatever from Ryan Day if he's the one that did it or whoever did it. Fuck him. Like listen, I've sat here and listened to people tell me that Bama has cheated for years. About Alex said it is. Bama does this. They do way worse. Then fucking show me where. Show me where. Because that's the best part is all of this stuff that Michigan has.
We don't speak in hypotheticals. We don't speak in hypotheticals on the show.
We don't speak in hypotheticals. Something we don't do. Something we'll never do.
So if you can't show us the facts, then stop talking about Bama doing this.
Yeah. What I've talked way too much already because I'm all hyper. What do you think about this? What do you think the what do you call it should be the punishment?
I mean, it's tough to say how prevalent this is. Maybe people are just way better at doing it.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know first off, like, and we'll never know, like how many people are actually doing this. But if he's like seriously like the rogue person that's been doing this, I mean, I think it's fair to say that you have to be fired.
I think Michigan should be banned from the postseason.
I mean, if it's a coach though, see, like, you get into these spots where it's like, okay, so Pruitt cheated, and the kids that came after that were playing for Heupel those first couple of years where they're on the ban because of what Pruitt did, like nothing the kids did. Now, I guess in this regard, the kids would be involved. I don't know if they knew, but it's tough to punish the kids. But if the whole staff is fired and it's a new staff, I don't know. I don't know if I would go ban.
You know what the best part about this is that it's currently on the staff and it's currently the team that it's affecting. So you have a whole like, I get the precedence of what you're saying, but you have a whole opportunity to sit here and be like, you know what? Let's go get the guys that are there right now.
So do it this year. I mean, here's the thing though. You know how these things go. This investigation is not going to take a month.
No, it's going to take way too long.
Yeah. So you can't do anything on hypotheticals. We don't speak hypotheticals. I know the NCAA doesn't.
No. I will also say that it's a blue blood program, and I mean a top 3 to 5 blue blood program. Arguably outside of Notre Dame, like you take away Notre Dame, this might be the number 1 brand in all of college sports and college football.
Yeah, certainly in the top 3, no doubt,
without a doubt, including Notre Dame. There, I have a very hard time thinking that the NCAA is going to do anything about this because it's Michigan. But I will also say I think they should, and I think again, man, I tell you what, if Saban got caught doing this, if Kirby Smart got caught doing this, one of these people that's like win at all costs, and you've like kind of like already got a bad vibe like with the media, or like a bad
Jimbo. Like, what if Jimbo did this?
Oh my god, it honestly would be hilarious if Jimbo did it any more than anybody.
Yep.
I wish it would have happened to like who do you, if you could wish one person getting caught with something like this, I would love for it to be like Brian Harsin, and just so Auburn fans be like, what the fuck could he have been doing? Like even more.
Spending more time trying to cheat than actually like practicing for games.
Right. Or recruiting. He's just like, he put together this elaborate scheme, but he didn't go spend a fucking second on the road recruiting. I will tell you, that's the funny part about this whole thing with like the SEC shorts thing, because it ends with him like the NCAA breaking into the house of like who they found out was doing it, and it's what do you call it? It's Mizzou. So that's what the other part was pretty funny. We've got Drew Butler coming on in about 10 to 12, 15 minutes to break down Florida, Georgia. The band, strictly the band. And we'll get into that in a second. We got a couple more topics to go over before we get into it. Like, I say we skip Pittman. Let's get into this though, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Obviously, we talked about Dabo's press conference after the game where he was talking about the therapist being on suicide watch.
Incredible.
But within that same press conference, he basically said, "Yeah, look, we called a run, and the quarterback didn't have a run. So I guess he thought maybe he could make a play." And I hadn't seen the Klubnik press conference he had after the game, but he starts out. I'm gonna share the video of this on YouTube. I think I can do that, right? He starts off really okay. So we talked about this beforehand, and I kind of want to set the stage for this because I think you nailed it. After I went back and watched it after you said what you said, like this kid's probably never been in trouble in his life.
Yeah, ever. Look at his fucking picture.
Starts off this press conference, and I'll only play like the first minute and a half because all we really need. Kind of all cheery, like joking around with the media, and then they start asking him questions, and they're like, "So Dabo just told us that he called a straight run." And once he hears that information, like Dabo's basically sold him out to the media. He just becomes a sad puppy. So let me share this. It's kind of funny, and then we'll talk about it. All right, tell me if you can hear this.
No, all right. It's second overtime.
Is this after the game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to make a play. If I had to play back, I hand it out 10 times out of 10. But take full responsibility for that one. Learn from it and keep going.
So he's still not too bad yet, but this is when they tell him that Dabo told the media that he called a run.
Dabo said it was supposed to be a straight handoff. Is that fair?
Yep. Did you see something that said, "Let me pull it and see if I can make a play out there"? Trying to use my instincts out there and just try to make a play. Saw something and did a good job covering it.
Dude, look how sad he is.
Yeah.
So the reason why I wanted
looks like a young Dabo.
The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I think it tells a story of a lot more that's going on in Clemson. I just feel like Dabo's kind of lost whatever he had going there, and these players, his own quarterback's not even trusting the plays that he's calling in, and feels like he can overstep what the coaching staff is telling him to do
Yeah.
and run a play on his own.
Well, so here's the thing, though, and this is the other part I want to make, because like my first thought was when I saw this was like, there's no way this kid has ever done anything wrong in his life. He is literally dressed like Dabo cosplay in that video. Like, I mean, look at his face.
Oh yeah,
He just left a fucking Young Republicans meeting. It has a 4.8 GPA somehow. He's already got a receding hairline at 18, but it still looks good. Like he's absolutely destined to marry a tri-delt, whatever that means. And this kid, like, he seems like a great kid, but like he's also a 5-star quarterback that came from Texas, where it's very competitive. And I'm sure that part of also Drew is going to come on at 9:15, so we have 19 minutes now. We've got to fill the space, got to fill this airtime. It is. It just like it looks so bad. Like it's Halloween week. If you told him like, hey, listen, we want you to get dressed in Dabo cosplay and go door to door, like, do you think you could do it? That's exactly what it looks like. But so the other thing is this. So he had his whole situation where he came as a recruit. Look at this guy in the background. Zoom in on that guy. This is bad radio or bad podcast.
Yeah.
But like he came from Texas, ultra competitive. And I bet he, like, no matter how good of a kid he is, no matter how fucking all-American that smile is, when you take the field, you still want to fucking win. And I bet he is tired as shit going out here with this much expectation and what he came to Clemson to do, and then versus what he's getting to see and getting to experience, because that part would have to be frustrating as shit. And that part would bother me to no end, because you think about the fact that like Dabo brought in Garrett Riley, and this is such a Dabo move. It's like you bring in Garrett Riley, who is supposed to be one of the best offensive minds and most sought after, if not the most sought after OC in the country last year. And you go out and get him and you go, we're going to run the Clemson offense. I guess my question for you is, Clemson is like Dabo's entire legacy starting to take a bit of a hit, because like what coaching has he done when you look at like, well, they beat the shit out of everybody in 2018, including Alabama, but they played 2 ranked teams the whole year. And like they had Trevor Lawrence as the quarterback and like the best defensive line in college football history.
To me, actually, it does downgrade him a bit, but it's more because look what happened when Venables left.
Yep.
And some of those great coordinators they had, Chad Morris at the time, and then Brad Scott and some of those guys that took over for him.
Yeah.
That they're not getting the recruits that they used to get. Specifically when Venables was there along the D line. I mean, they still have good ones, but it's not what it was. And it'll be interesting when some of these, they have 2 of the best linebackers in the country that are upperclassmen, they'll be gone. It'll just be interesting to see when Venables' fingerprints come totally off that defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's saving them right now. Their offense is terrible.
Yeah.
Their defense has been pretty good still, but I don't know, man. I always kind of thought that about Dabo before they made their run. Is like, man, I don't see it with this guy. And he almost got fired, and then he brought in Venables, and that's kind of how things. Remember when they got smoked by like 60 points in the Orange Bowl
by West Virginia? They gave up 70.
Yeah. And that's when everything changed. They brought in Venables, and like the whole culture changed and everything. And like now you look at Oklahoma in year 2 of Venables being the head coach out there, they're making a run at the CFP. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's been trending down for Clemson over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, agreed. All right, before we get in the games, you want to talk one more thing about? We should have done something Halloween wise, but we didn't, and I don't want to have to think about it on the fly. Let's save the Heisman update for last. At the end of the show, what do you think about that?
Okay.
All right, you want to get into some games?
Yeah, let's get into some games. Ooh, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Okay, so this is number. I'm trying to get to the game here in the notes. Number 8, Oregon, 6-1 at number 13, Utah. who I believe has one loss.
I think one loss. It's kind of surprising they
Yeah.
didn't move up, right?
Yeah. 3:30 on Fox. Utah currently plus 6.5 at home. Total 48.
Yeah.
Yeah. Utah's only loss this year on the road at Oregon State, which is I mean, people don't just roll into Corvallis.
I'll tell you who. I'm going to talk about this for a second, Tyler, because we get some
Oregon,
really good
obviously.
news.
Oregon's
really good news.
obviously what
Do you know who rolled out of Atlanta?
rolled out?
Yeah, back to Corvallis or that side of the country.
Okay, yeah. And Oregon, their only loss on the road at Washington.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this game, man, because I feel like even still after last week when Utah goes on the road and beats USC, and we know that you take out the COVID season, which the Pac-12 I think played 5 games.
Yeah.
And it was a weird season anyways. They've won 27 straight at home. And yet here we go. They're nearly a touchdown underdog in their building. Utah, the defense has been really good. They're 5th ranked against the run, 1st and 3rd down defense, 6th in havoc rate, 5th in success rate allowed. I mean, they've been incredible on defense yet again. Obviously, Oregon has been relying on Bucky Irving at running back. Last year against Utah, he only had 10 carries for 20 yards. So they wrapped him up last year. I just feel like not enough respect is being put on Utah. I don't know if I can outright call them for a victory here because I like what I saw out of Barnes at QB, but that was against USC.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can trust that that's like him turning the corner. Before I give my pick, what are your thoughts?
So I kind of get this feeling that, especially after what we've seen Washington do the past couple weeks, Washington got Oregon at home. We're both very high on Washington, and I think they're very good. But you know how many interceptions Bo Nix has thrown this year?
Probably not many.
1.
Yeah.
They're a complete football team. And you're talking about like, now we don't talk about hypotheticals, but let's do it for a second. If Oregon goes into Washington and beats Washington, made a couple of mistakes that they probably shouldn't have, a couple of coaching decisions I'm sure Lanning would want to go back and have. And in most cases, it makes no sense to go back and be like, well, they can't undo what they've already done or whatever. But in this situation, you might get the chance to, because you might get to play them again. I think that Lanning is going to have tunnel vision with this team, and I think they're probably on a mission a little bit. Like I think like Utah is a formidable opponent, but this is such a good spot for Oregon because Utah is not. They're just not fully there because they don't have Cam Rising, and. Yeah. I think that they were able to go beat a USC team on the road, which is impressive with a 3rd-string quarterback. But this isn't USC, and like I think it's kind of, I hate when people say this phrase, especially it's like the clown emoji, but with words. I think that USC, I think they are frauds. I really do, and I think that Oregon is not. I think that Oregon might be still one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country, in my opinion. And I think this game, and I've heard a lot said about this, and I agree with it. I think this game is the catalyst for them going the rest of the season to prove a point, to try to get themselves into the playoff and also get Bo Nix to New York.
Do you like them big?
I wouldn't say big. What's the line again? I'm sorry.
6.5.
6.5. I do like them to cover that. I will say Oregon 31 to 20.
Mm-hmm. And that's what that's kind of the way that if I think about this game just based on the pure teams on paper and what I've seen of both of them, I would lean that same way. But I have to factor in that people always doubt Utah. This is a classic everyone doubts Utah game. And it's like, oh, Oregon's only a 6.5 point favorite over Utah. Their offense is electric. They've got a really good defense. Like, this doesn't make sense. Utah at home, man. So I'm not going to pick them to win, but Oregon 27, Utah 24. I think they cover the spread.
Okay. Let's go here next, because I think this is interesting too.
Okay. Ohio State, Wisconsin.
I thought this would be a much bigger game, and this is admittedly something just a little peel behind the onion here, guys. We didn't really prep for this one. I kind of sprung this one on Tyler late, so we don't have to get too into it. But Ohio State on the road, right? Coming off a pretty massive win against Penn State. Some people weren't impressed by that. I was. I thought it was a good win. I'm not going to sit here and get into the camp of like, oh, it was an ugly game and like whatever. I thought it was a very, very good win against a very good Penn State team. Penn State is still one of the only teams in the country that is ranked in the top 15 in both offense and defense in the country. And they are ranked 6th, I think, on offense and 1st in defense, or like 2nd in defense, something like that. And so they're both in the top 10. Wisconsin is 5-2. Definitely a team that's floating under the radar. They have 2 losses. One of them is to Iowa, 15-6. I will say I've been a little bit disappointed in some of this team because I thought it was a team that could challenge. I still think they can win the Big Ten West. They're currently leading it, but like with the schedule and with Phil Longo coming up, I thought that the offense would be a little bit better than it has been. Ohio State on the road coming off that game, they're 14.5-point favorites. I will say I think Wisconsin covers that. Whatever the first half line is, which is probably about 10, I would definitely jump all over Wisconsin, just like maybe as like one of my locks of the week. Because I think that they'll have that place jumping. It's a night game on NBC. I will take Ohio State to win, but I think it'll be a little bit more difficult than they realize. I'll say Ohio State 30 to 20.
Okay. So it's a 10.5-point spread. You're saying they go
14 and a half.
14.5. Okay. Yeah. What time is this game?
7:30 at night.
Ooh. Yeah. That's a tough spot for Ohio State.
Yeah.
I agree. There was a lot that went into that game. The only thing I'm thinking about here is Wisconsin. I jumped on Wisconsin -3.5 against Illinois last week, and they like barely at the very last minute scored a touchdown to cover that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their stats here. The thing that scares me is I feel like when you're an underdog, you have to at least be able to hit the explosive play. And when you're like a 2-touchdown underdog, they're 129th in the country in explosiveness. Meanwhile, Ohio State.
How Wisconsin is?
Yeah.
How the fuck is that possible with Phil Longo?
Well, I mean, year one, like he probably doesn't have the roster where he wants it.
He's got Tanner Mordecai.
Yeah, but what receivers do they have?
I don't know. Tanner Mordecai sounds like the best flag football, like fraternity flag football quarterback ever.
Just a pike out there slinging it.
Dude, he played 3 years in high school, bro. He could have played here. He just hurt his shoulder towards ACL and joint.
I just think Wisconsin's offense is not going to be able to move the ball much on Ohio State. I mean, gosh, that's a lot on the road, but yeah, I'm going to take Ohio State to cover. I don't know the score, but I just can't see Wisconsin scoring a ton of points.
Okay, so I'll say Ohio State 34-17.
Let me see what the total is.
It's 50, so that's 51.
45.5.
It's 45.5.
Yeah, I'll take Ohio
31-14.
31-14?
Yeah.
That's my score.
Okay. Let's talk about this for a brief moment because I think he's not on here right now, so I'm going to talk some shit. I like this guy a lot, but I haven't seen Aaron Murray make a single fucking good point this entire season, and we're almost 2 months in. Texas and BYU play this weekend.
Okay.
Texas is going to be without Quinn Ewers because he tried to lower his shoulder in the last game on like 3rd and short or something like that, or 3rd and 6, and got stopped. They're at home and they're playing BYU, who is I'm looking at the numbers right now because of course I'm not prepared. BYU is 5-2, which I thought was interesting in and of itself. Not a lot of they lost 44-11 at TCU, and they lost at Kansas 38-27. They did win at Arkansas, 38-31. I don't think that they're a very good team. Texas is a 17.5-point favorite, though, with Malik Murphy going at quarterback. The thing that Aaron Murray said that this blew my mind was, is this going to be the start of the Arch Manning era? What? No.
Well, why not?
He's no, no,
You
absolutely
don't know
not.
that.
I do know that. Also, BYU, they gained 301.9 yards per game.
Yeah, they're 128th in success rate, 120th in third down conversions, 112th in penalties. I don't love. I might like the under in this game.
You like the under? I can see that. The under is 50.
Yeah, I like the under in this game because BYU also plays at a very slow tempo, 86th in the country. They can't move the ball. You got a new QB, regardless of if it's Arch Manning or Malik Murphy or whoever it is. We
Yeah.
know it's Malik Murphy, but they're probably gonna have a conservative game plan unless they feel like BYU is bad enough where they can open it up and try to just work Malik in because he's going to be in for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
Minimum. I'll take the under in this game.
Well, give me a fucking score.
What's the under? What's the over under?
50.
You said that about the last game, and it was.
It really is. I'm looking right at it.
All right, let me go. BYU 10 and Texas 36.
You're the worst. That is the worst. I'm gonna tell you off air what I think about how you just said that. I'm gonna text you right now because I can't say it or I'll get canceled. That I hate the way you deliver that entire thing. Now check your text. So I'm gonna say 35-13. Okay. I don't think Texas is going to struggle too much. They might struggle early, but they're at home, which they've done really well at home in. I think that look at some of these games too. Kansas 40-14, Baylor 30-6, Wyoming 31-10. I know it's Wyoming, but is BYU that much better than Wyoming? I think it's going to be a really, really good win for Texas. Over a BYU team that's always going to be pretty tough. They're always a veteran team. And I think after the game, you're going to see, Malik Murphy with his brothers and looking over at the other sideline, seeing some of those sister wives. And I think that he's really just going to, be arm in arm with his teammates and swaying back and forth and really just soak it in, just really soak in the victory over BYU. You see what I did there?
I see.
I'm talking about when the Mormons do the
I get
penis.
it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Seamless transition from Mormon penises to Jacksonville, Florida. Let's get into the Florida-Georgia game.
Okay.
Pretty massive game here. And both teams coming off a week off. Both teams still a lot to play for. Obviously, Georgia undefeated. Florida sitting there 5-2. Initial thoughts on this game?
I'm actually kind of interested in it because Florida's quietly been pretty decent on offense.
Mm-hmm.
And Mertz is third in the nation in completion percentage, so they're asking him to do things that he can do, and they're having some success on that. 22nd in the country in pass play success rate. Now obviously Georgia's strength is stopping the pass, and so where I think it's interesting is that outside of the Kentucky game, we haven't really seen a super impressive performance from Georgia yet. And that was with Brock Bowers. And that's kind of been their identity on offense this year. When they need to make a play, he's the guy getting the ball.
Yeah.
So with your first real game of not having him in there against your arch rival team that's playing a little bit better. I mean, Florida's 5-2. I got to give them credit. They've I thought after I saw them the first week, with all the mistakes, and losing to Utah without Cam Rising, I was like, man, I just don't know. And then they get smoked by Kentucky, and they've kind of rebounded. Now,
Yeah.
it's a little smoke and mirrors because South Carolina team that they had to rally to beat
Yeah.
isn't great.
No, they're awful.
So, and turns out Kentucky's not great either. So the fact that they smoked you is kind of a bad sign. But
Yeah.
I do like kind of where Florida's offense is headed. And I just think it's going to be an interesting test for Georgia, like more than we've seen in the last few years. That's kind of my initial read. What about you?
So that was like, I think this game goes one of two ways, and I don't want to give away my prediction by any means, especially before we get Drew on here. This sounds stupid, but like I'll say it anyway. This game goes one of two ways, and that is enough dumb shit happens that Florida somehow sticks around and lingers and like is able to have like, you know, like I think you would have to have 3 turnovers. I think you would have to have 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
Catch lightning on in a bottle on like something like where it's like a blocked punt return for a touchdown, a fumble return for a touchdown, something in special teams or defense where you get at least 6 out of there. Or like a flip field, like really, really deep in Georgia territory. But I still think it's like 3 turnovers plus a touchdown on defense or special teams, like a non-offensive touchdown. You know, this is the last team to beat them in the regular season, which I don't think matters at all. I've just heard it as a talking point all week. I don't think that Mertz is going to come out here and throw a bunch of wheel routes like Kyle Trask did in 2020. I mean, one thing that scares me for Florida is that like Kirby Smart hates Florida. Like he hates Florida. And I will say that there's no rivalry in college football that is more heated off the field than this rivalry. I've never seen 2 fan bases go at it on a daily basis more than these two. And I'll tell you right now, Georgia fans, you're not going to want to hear this, but I don't give a shit. It would be hilarious if Florida won this game. It would be hilarious if Florida won this game. Now, I will also tell you, when you said the smoke and mirrors thing, I do kind of think that a little bit of this whole situation with Florida is a little bit smoke and mirrors in terms of they scored 41 against South Carolina, and South Carolina kind of sucks. Is that where some of like the offensive numbers are coming from? Because then you look back at that and it's like, all right, well, they beat Vandy like a drum, which they should have. They got their ass kicked by Kentucky. And then, you know, they played a weird one against Charlotte where it's like it was 22-7. And they had that big win against Tennessee at home. I think that this is going to be a game that like Georgia's going to have to come out of the gates and struggle. I don't think the Brock Bowers angle is going to be that big of a.
But isn't that kind of what Georgia does this year?
Yeah, right. So they got to do it again.
So that part of the script is, I think, viable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think the Brock Bowers angle is that big of a deal. I don't. Like,
who's the guy they go to in a, let's say they start slow and Florida gets out hot and is up 10-0. Who's the guy on offense that Georgia's turning to that's like, all right, we know this guy is going to be reliable for us here. We're going to get a touchdown on this drive.
Stetson fucking Bennett. I don't know. Do you hobble Brock Bowers out there with one fucking leg like Lieutenant
You remember
Dan?
the catch he made last year in this game?
Huh?
Remember the catch he made last year in this game?
I was high the whole game last year, bro. I don't remember anything. I'm kidding. I was not, guys. I do. It was like a circus catch that like. Yeah.
But seriously, like I'm not saying that guy doesn't possibly exist on the roster, but I don't know who it is.
Well, and my question is this. What is the offensive game plan for Georgia? Because their whole thing is about being balanced and like, you know, running the football and being able to throw the football, getting it to a bunch of different guys. That's been their MO forever now. Like under
I think you lean on Dejon Edwards. I mean, he's been good this year, and he was good in this game last year. He had 12 carries for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game last year.
Well, and you take the blueprint from what Kentucky's done?
Dude. So here's where I think Georgia can. I mean, Florida is 132nd in the country in rush play explosiveness allowed, and 129th in pass play explosiveness allowed. Like you could just gas them for huge plays. Well, I think a lot of that rush number is mainly from that Kentucky game, but
yeah,
I think you can get if you can get Dejon Edwards going on the ground early, and you can open up play action for Carson Beck. Like, I think they're going to be fine. But if Florida can somehow stop the run, it could be trouble. I mean, it could be a close game.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, this guy always he's wearing a chain. Now let's introduce our next guest. As I used to like to introduce him as like the best non-Australian punter in the country. He's quickly become the only non-Australian punter that I know.
That's a good
general.
one too. That's a good
I mean, it's
one,
kind
too.
of fair. Drew Butler, how the hell are you, man?
I'm okay. I'm writing a list down right now, and I'm trying to think to myself,
Oh boy,
how many fucking people Marler reached out to before he asked me to jump on this podcast 20 minutes before he needed me. So I have a list. I have a list.
Earlier in the day. I did this this morning. You were the first person I reached out to, Dick.
I have a list. Okay,
I'd love to hear this
here
list.
are the people Chris Marler reached out to before he texted me, can you please jump on the podcast? Josh Pate, Cole Kubelik, Peter Burns, Alyssa Lang, the funny guy from the SEC Shorts videos.
I almost texted him, yeah.
The dude from the Dr. Pepper commercials.
Larry?
And then the dog from the Bush's Baked Beans commercials. That's what I have written down of the people you probably reached out to before you called me.
Okay, first
I'm here.
It's good to see you.
Great to see you.
Bush's
as well.
Baked Beans is a new sponsor we have at the site. So
There you go. There you go.
Is it really? All right.
Yeah, I think we sold them on a puppy picks thing that we were gonna do with like the dogs and pick games.
What's
going
on,
we're happy
boys?
to have you here. You
I'm
were. I'm looking at the list right now. What is it? You were 41 to 20. I'm just trying to make up a score of when Bama beat Georgia. That's all I'm trying to do.
I never played Bama. I never got to play out. Oh, 2008, I was on the team. I didn't play in the game, but that wasn't a very fun game for Georgia fans.
I didn't ask Aaron Murray over you.
You didn't? Oh,
no,
wow.
absolutely not.
Okay, well, there you go. I'm here.
We just got done just razzing some of his takes, but it was during the BYU Texas segment. So
gotcha.
Yeah, it plays.
Gotcha.
All right, we're talking about Florida, Georgia.
Florida.
So just phonetically and alphabetically speaking, it's definitely Florida, Georgia. They
Correct.
have more wins in the last 30 plus years, at least in my lifetime, which is where I want to start.
I just want to say that I'm not on board with this segment of the podcast.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. And good to see you as well, my friend. Congrats on Florida State rocking and rolling.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's awesome.
Good to see you too.
I texted him.
All right, go ahead, Greg.
Like 20 minutes for the podcast, and I was like, just to be clear, let's make sure we say Florida, Georgia every time. And he was like, I'll just see you at 8:30. Please stop.
That's great.
All right. So taking us through this, obviously you're a Georgia guy. It's been kind of an odd season because they're undefeated, but there are like cracks in the armor a little bit. Like overall, and I don't even mean the fan base, because the fan base is, everyone has fanatics, but like what is the mindset or like the confidence level this year and compared to years past, maybe, of like how people around the program are feeling about the team?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think the general consensus will probably be that this year's Georgia team is not living up to expectations. However, the expectations are so unbelievably high.
Right.
And that's probably unfair to the players on the team, unfair to the coaching staff, because you're winning games. I mean, just 6 years ago, if you told Georgia, hey, you'd be 7-0 heading into Florida, everybody would be doing backflips saying, hell yeah, that's exactly what I want. It's pretty clear this year that the defense is not up to par as to what it's been the last 2 years. And again, I will go ahead and say the past 2 years of defense at Georgia have been some of the most historically great defenses in all of college football. So they're chasing that standard, which is so unbelievably high. And then when you look at from an offensive perspective, what they were able to do, the creativity that they had, the explosiveness that they had, not only with Todd Monken calling plays, but with the NFL talent that was on the field, you knew there was going to be a big turnover. And you knew even if they were averaging 41 points per game, which they're doing right now, you'd have people saying this isn't good enough. So I think what's interesting is that the fans probably are starting to understand every single week Georgia plays, they're going to get the opponent's best shot. And every single week they continue to win, the odds of them winning the next week go against them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of fact. Like the next stretch of 4 games, call Florida the 26th ranked team in the country. It's Florida 26, Missouri 16, Ole Miss 13, Tennessee 21 as it stands now. Like, is there a loss in there? And if they're away, will the field be stormed? Like that is what Georgia is fighting against right now. Thankfully, Kirby Smart has built a team that can grind you down, wear you out. And as a fan, I'm putting my fan cap on. If you tell me a team wants to run 60 minutes with Georgia, I'd say, all right, strap it up and let's go see what happens. And I think that they probably feel that same way too.
That's fair. We were just talking about before you came on the Brock Bowers injury. Obviously, everybody's talking about it, but I really do think it's a big deal because, and I'll ask you, because Chris and I couldn't really come up with a name. Like, let's say, Georgia's been getting off to some slow starts. So let's say somehow Florida's up 10, 13, nothing to start the game. Who's the guy on offense? It's always been Bowers, right? Who's the guy they can turn to that says, all right, this guy's going to get us down the field. We're going to him, target him 50% of the time. You know, who is that guy?
If he's healthy, I think it's Lad McConkey. He has proven to be super efficient, crisp route runner, highly dependable when he's on the field, especially in third down. Gritty, of course, right? Like all that stuff. Great mental capacity, whatever.
Sneaky fast.
Yeah, that one too. Arian Smith's got to catch the ball. I mean, the guy's been wide open downfield for a couple of game-breaking plays, and he hasn't been able to bring it in. Could he have that opportunity in Jacksonville? Sure he could. And those are the types of plays, those huge chunk explosive plays that not only give you a big lead in the game, it gets the offense great momentum. Everybody starts clicking. The defense is fired up. The opposing team's like, oh, shit, we can't keep up with these guys. So I think if you go through the air, you start with Lad because he is so dependable. And then I'd like to see one of these transfers step up. Coach Smart continues to speak highly of Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett. I know they've been getting a little bit more implemented in the game plan, but there are a lot of toys on Georgia's offense. I'm fascinated to find out what identity they take through these next 4 games without Brock Bowers. Will they just go in the trenches and start running the ball in between the tackles and say, we dare you to beat us that way? They very well could. Or will they go 5 wide and say, Carson can sling it. He's earned the trust of this team. Let's see what kind of talent we have on the outside. I'm excited to see because, quite frankly, I have no idea.
I don't think you stray too far away from that position either, because Oscar Delp is more than capable of putting up some really big numbers as well. Looking at Florida, besides their the mental capacity of their fan base, what scares you most about this Florida team?
They've been highly inconsistent. Graham Mertz, quite frankly, scares me. Now he's been playing very up or very down, and he's trending in the right direction. But the fact that he's not exactly mobile, if you look at what Georgia's been, weak against or weaker against, it is that mobile quarterback who's able to get out on the perimeter or get the ball onto the perimeter. And then Georgia's defense has shown vulnerability in that aspect. Take what Devin Leary and Kentucky were, an undefeated top 20 ranked team. He wasn't mobile. Georgia swallowed him up and just took care of business immediately. If they force Graham Mertz into that type of game plan, I think it's going to be a long day for the Florida Gators. The line is 14.5. That kind of shocked me too, Chris. I was like, damn, that's a lot of points. And Georgia's 1-5-1 against the spread. Do they have to have some regression to the mean? Do they have to start covering some games in order for Vegas to get back even? I would think so. But another thing too is Kirby Smart. Like he hates Florida. Like he's one of those guys that absolutely cannot stand Florida. It's no coincidence that a lot of those leaked locker room speeches are from the games down in Jacksonville. That's what comes from being an alumni of the school, growing up in South Georgia and Bainbridge, close to the Florida, Georgia. He doesn't like the orange and blue, and he's not afraid to let people know it. So that plays into the Dogs' advantage as well.
We were talking too, everyone's talking about how Mertz is like third in the country in completion percentage, but you start to look at some of the defenses that Florida's gone up against basically since they played Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Tennessee when that was a great win, but then it was Charlotte 22-7. You played a Kentucky team that just ran all over you.
That's right.
And you only scored 14 points. And then you played Vandy and South Carolina, terrible defenses. And your offense looked good there. So it's almost like maybe a little bit of smoke and mirrors with the offense here.
Ray Davis ran for 280 against Florida, right?
282.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. So, I mean, would it surprise me if Georgia's like, hey, we're just going to run straight at these guys? No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And when you break out those statistics like that, Tyler, and you look at who Graham Mertz has kind of quote unquote padded his stats against, it makes you think like, look, he hasn't seen a defense like Georgia. I thought it was crazy that, and I'm no guru, I'll tell you that right now.
We were saying that too before you came on here. You're definitely not.
Course.
That's one of the things we said.
But like Georgia's defense against Vanderbilt to start the game, like how they didn't just go press man coverage to start the game, be like, hey, you guys can't get off the line on us, and then we'll run with you. And you won't like soft zone, and then they have a miscue, and homeboy goes 65 yards to the house. It's like that shouldn't happen. So
right.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many ways Georgia can attack Florida this weekend. And I was with some Georgia fans earlier this week. Like there's still that level of pessimism that is from the mid to early 2000s and 2010s of, oh shit, it's Jacksonville. Anything can happen. And I was sitting there going, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, Florida's playing pretty well recently, but Georgia's certainly on another level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So this isn't going to shock you at all, but I didn't write down any of my questions. I have them all up in my head, which is a steel trap. No doubt.
Spontaneity. Creativity.
You nailed it. Oh, I mean, that was good. That's that Georgia education.
Beautifully said.
Thank you, Tyler. It's late. It's late.
What is your favorite Florida Georgia line song?
Oh, okay. I got a great story for you.
Yes.
So I am playing in a charity golf tournament, the Caddyshack charity golf tournament. The Murray brothers. So Bill Murray's there, Joel Murray's there, John, Andy, the whole crew. Ed is there. Brian Doyle Murray, who wrote Caddyshack. Awesome event every spring down at the World Golf Village. So Chris Seeley, who's a huge Florida fan, tournament director. Him and I have become really good friends over the years. So he's like, hey, come on down and play. You're going to play with Jesse Rice. I'm like, cool. I have no idea who Jesse Rice is. So walk in, shake Jesse's hand. He's a Clemson fan. I'm like, what's up, Jesse? He's a younger guy.
Yeah.
Look, this is a golf tournament where the number one rule is have fun. So we're starting to, crush some beers. It's a beautiful day. Awesome golf tournament. And I get my speaker out and I'm playing music, bro country, like whatever. I'm not a snobby music guy, Chris. You need to know that about me. So I'm like, hey, Jesse, what do you do for work? He's like, I'm a songwriter. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, that seems like a cool gig. Do you have any songs that I would know? That's an obvious question that you'd ask. He's like, yeah, I might have a couple of songs you'd know. I was like, what's your number one song? He's like, I wrote Cruise for Florida Georgia Line. I was like, really? So I'm sitting there going, this is like the third hole. I'm kind of like calling bullshit. I'm like, come on, dude, you wrote Cruise? He's like, yeah, you know the line, Jesse's getting ready. He's gassing up his Chevy. He's like, that's me. He's like, those are my guys. Oh, I forget their names, Tyler and Andrew, something like that.
Jace.
Yeah.
Jace
he's like,
and bass. It's like, it's just, yeah.
So Jesse Rice, awesome guy, great songwriter. Go check out his stuff. He wrote Cruise by Florida Georgia Line. He's got a daughter or two kids and a wife. And he's like, you want to know what the second best day of my life was? This is when he only had one kid. And I was like, what? He goes, we got a phone call that Nelly wanted to remix Cruise. It stayed on the Billboard top 10 charts for like an extra 35 weeks or something. He was like, that was a great day. I was like,
yeah,
good for you. Money. I was like, good for you. Yeah. So that's my Florida Georgia Line song. So I'll go with Cruise. There you go.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
This is going to prolong the story, but it's almost too weird to even. I also met somebody that co-wrote that song.
There you go.
His name is Chase Rice. He's now an actual country singer. I was on a cruise, actually, weirdly enough.
Christ,
come on, Tyler. Turn this into a comedy bit.
This is not a bullshit story. I was on a cruise my senior year of college, and we were at the pool, And we look across the pool, and there's a guy that looks identical to a guy in our crowd. So we're like, we've got to go introduce these guys. We go over there, and my one buddy is like, hey, I actually know you from when I was a kid. And it was a bunch of white UNC football players.
Yeah.
And he my buddy in my group grew up with Chase Rice in Ormond Beach, Florida. And so we just hang with them for the rest of the time. And then like a year later, like I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I see he's on Survivor. He's like made it second on Survivor, and then he becomes a country artist. And I found out he wrote Cruise, and I was like, I know this guy. Like I tried to get him booked at Peachtree Tavern here in
Peachtree Tavern's great
in Atlanta.
All right, so here, let me just give you a couple here. The song was written by the two members of Florida Georgia Line, Brian Kelly and Tyler Hubbard, together with Chase Rice and Jesse Rice. So there you go. We've corroborated our story. The Nelly remix was released on iTunes April 2, 2013 to Pop Radio on April 16th. The remix sold over 7 million copies or something like that. So it's a good day for those guys.
This is crazy. You guys aren't going to believe this, but I also met someone that wrote that song.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I actually know Nelly.
I was actually shopping for jeans with holes in them at a Hollister in McDonough, and one of the members of the band was there.
Dude, Cruise is the best-selling country digital song of all time in the United States.
That's
crazy.
That's
sick.
me in so many reasons.
That's crazy.
That's sick.
There's like a couple of
keep writing jokes, Marler. One of them will hit someday. Okay, just keep trying, dude.
I just need to get a catchy tagline at the end of my jokes. Like at the end of it, it's like instead of like the dude, I'd be like, and Cruise, like repeatedly, just repeatedly.
Okay, you're a Chappelle Show guy, right? We're getting way off track. So I'm a huge Chappelle Show guy.
Yeah.
All I can think about with the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce shit is the Dave Chappelle gets Oprah Winfrey pregnant skit. Remember when he gets Oprah Winfrey pregnant and he's like, gotcha. He's like, Stedman, don't F this up for me. I mean, that's one of the all-time great skits. And he's like, quitting work. And he's like, I'm done. I quit. That's just the best. I literally think Travis Kelce's like got this long con to like maybe retire in a year and just marry Taylor Swift and be just ultra rich for the rest of his life.
What an awesome thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, good for him.
Like Gronk went porn star.
Yeah.
Right out the gate. Actually, I think he was still in the NFL when he did that.
Also, when he was playing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gronk was, of course. Of course. Yeah.
I mean, T Swift's kind of like the number one. How could you get better than that?
You know, it's like, hey, and the same thing with Chappelle. He was like, you know, have a great day at work, honey. Make sure you stay off your feet. You know, Kelsey could be like, have a great tour. I'll see you in a couple of months. Yeah. Like, he didn't have to do anything.
I will say that, and like I know that like a lot of our audience is like SEC fans. I feel like this is like a Venn diagram of the people that are mad about the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift stuff. Just so everyone knows, and I'm not taking a stand either way, but I have seen Taylor Swift twice in concert, so I will say that's probably where my stance is. My main thing is if you're tired of hearing about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, just know that that's how every single fucking person you interact with to tell you about your fantasy team feels about your fantasy team. Yeah. Just to be clear.
I was at a birthday party this past week, and it's like, okay, let's just do simple math, like why they're beating it into your brain. The NFL's Instagram account has 25 million followers. Taylor Swift has 280 million followers on Instagram.
Right.
That's why they're doing it. It's not
the math on it. It's fascinating how much money they've made off of it.
Oh,
yeah, crazy. Like Kelsey's Instagram followers have gone up like 3,000% or something crazy.
Their podcast hit 1 million subscribers.
It's insane.
1 million. There's a center for the Eagles.
They are crushing. If you haven't watched the Kelce documentary on Amazon, highly recommend it. It's absolutely awesome. It's about Jason Kelce last year. So, all right, we're way off track.
Should we just start like a pop culture?
Yeah. Podcast? Sorry about that. I just hijacked y'all's podcast.
My favorite part of this entire show, maybe of any guest we've had this season, is when Drew started fact checking you mid-story about your summer cruise.
Like, I don't know
there were some plot holes in that, Tyler, for sure.
That's great.
I was on a cruise.
Yeah. He was a linebacker at UNC, tore his ACL his senior year, so he took up playing guitar, and that's how his country artist.
I bet he was a fucking nightmare to be around at parties that year. He tore his ACL and ended his career and picked up the guitar.
How much natural light did that guy drink? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
All right, let's get Drew out of here with a couple more questions. I mean, give us a prediction on the game. Well, first off, and I want to. This is twofold. So, what is your? This is like one of the rare old '80s games where your dad didn't kick like a 87-yard field goal to win. So, what is your all-time Florida Georgia non-playing days memory? Like favorite highlight?
I got a great
game,
one for
whatever.
You. Yeah.
And then what's your favorite memory from when you played?
Okay. Non-playing, 2012 was my rookie year. I was in Pittsburgh. And on the Steelers, Marquise Pouncey, Chris Rainey, Marcus Gilbert. Who else was on that team? Another Florida guy. I was a rookie. Georgia was really good that year. Florida was also really good. And we were in Baltimore. No, home against the Redskins. Can't say that anymore. Commanders. And they all, there's such thing called locker room bet. Like guys walk up to you. If your team's playing their team, no point spread, they name the price, shake hands, and you're on. And if you turn down a locker room bet, not a good look. So I'm a rookie. I got all these Florida guys just swarming around me, locker room bet, 500, locker room bet, 1,000, locker room bet, 100. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm a rookie, keep in mind. So I'm sweating this game in my hotel room by myself. Jarvis Jones, Jordan Reed, pops the ball out. We win the game. I'm going nuts. I'm like, dude, hell yeah. So I'm fired up. We go down to team meeting that Saturday night, and Coach Tomlin starts the team meeting by going, Drew Butler, stand up. And I stand up. He goes, tell everybody how much money you just made on all these Florida guys. And I said, whatever I made, and everybody cheered. And that's my favorite memory because it won me a significant amount of money. And those Florida guys are still great friends of mine. But playing days, 2011 was huge, man, because we won that game and we knew we were probably going to win the SEC East. We had started that season 0-2. We were 6-7 the year before. Think about that. We rattled off 10 straight wins in a row. We won the SEC East. This was the first time Georgia got back to the SEC title game since 2005, I think. So that was a big win in Florida. It was highly emotional for everybody. Fun victory for sure. Malcolm Mitchell went off in that game as well. He's a beast. So I have to say, getting that win my senior year, that was awesome.
Nice. Cool. Well, give us a prediction, man, for this year. And you're all over now. So tell everyone where they can find you as well, because where I usually find you is at about 11:30 p.m. when I decide to start bragging to you about my picks for the day when you're like probably in bed and being an adult. But yeah, give us a prediction of the game and tell everyone where they can find you.
42-20 is my prediction of the game. I think Georgia covers. I think Georgia wins. Okay. Where can they find me? So, like, if you're in the Atlanta area, right after the game, SEC on CBS, 3:30 this weekend, I'll be on Atlanta News First on the SEC wrap-up show. So we hit the air depending on when the game actually ends. As soon as Adam Zucker, Brian Jones, and Neuheisel are done up in New York, they throw it to us, and we have an hour on TV. So that's probably where you can find me immediately. Punt and Pass Podcast is everywhere you want to listen to podcasts. Me and Jake Fromm, we have fun. We do it twice a week. I just recorded one with him before Marler started begging me to jump on here with him. And then I'm on 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, which has been a lot of fun also. So I'm everywhere. Just
nice, man. Well, we appreciate the time, man.
How much live TV have you done?
This is my first foray into like true live TV, like being like an analyst, if you wanted to call it that.
Yeah.
But people do ask me like, what do you want to do? Like, I enjoy being in studio. I don't really want to be in the booth. I don't really feel like I want to be like a color commentator or a play-by-play guy. I like being in the studio, helping drive conversation, kind of being one of those guys. So it's been a lot of fun. We'll see what happens.
Did you major in that at Georgia?
I did.
Okay.
I majored in journalism at Georgia. So
okay.
If that helps me at all in some of these job searches, if you wanted to call it that, I'll let you know, because it has not so far. They don't give a shit. They're like, okay, you're a punter. You went to Georgia. What? No. Okay. So
you can see in the background there. I'm trying to show you. You can't really see it because
it looks like, what is that? A baby crib in the background? What do you have going on over there?
This is a day bed. It's not my room, so shut up.
Okay.
You didn't hear about his kid?
No. What
do
you have going on
there?
That. What's on the screen?
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you before you started being a dickhead about it. But I downloaded the app just for you.
Oh,
so
sweet.
I can watch you on TV.
Thank you, Marler.
I'll delete it.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much.
Well, I'll be looking. I'll be watching.
Yeah.
And thank you, Tyler. Hey, look, let me just say one thing. I think Florida State's going to the college football playoff. So,
what about Alabama?
Right. Yeah. I think did you see my shout out to my interns on Punt and Pass? I had a little clip go like semi-viral, 200,000 views on Instagram.
Sick.
Oh, there you go. You have interns.
Yeah. Grady School of Journalism, shout out University of Georgia.
It's a great hospital.
Yeah, they send a sports media major to punt and pass every fall. They get 3 credits and they run my socials and they cut up all my stuff. So it's the best, dude.
Oh, that's
Bro,
awesome.
help us out. Let them
Yeah.
come over
Yeah,
here.
someone of them our way.
Got to have the inside track, bro. Come on now.
Oh, I thought you
all
were
right.
the inside track, but thanks for letting us down easy. That's nice. All right,
buck stops here.
we gotta go talk Tennessee, Kentucky, and fucking the trophy game between A&M and Carolina. So
Yeah, dude. Look, that game's I'm gonna let you go. That game's fascinating to me because if South Carolina loses, their season's officially in a total tailspin. It already is.
Oh my god.
But if they win, like Jimbo Fisher, that fire will be so hot. I know it'd be crazy. So I'm
They'll be
fired up to
fired
watch the
immediately.
game. I mean,
Mike
seriously,
Elko. Mike Elko is going to be the next
you
coach
like
at
that
Texas
name,
A&M.
huh? Okay.
yeah, and then
Dude,
Jimbo.
I
Petrino
was
will be
impressed with Duke this
OC.
weekend. I really was.
I love it. All right, boys. Thanks so much for having me on. This podcast is going viral. I can already tell.
Boom.
And when you whoever does the post, whoever tease us in and out with a cruise by Florida Georgia Line.
It's illegal, but we'll try our best. Thanks, Drew. All right, that was fun. That was fun. He's great. I feel bad that he thinks I asked all these other people because I asked him first, and I also feel bad that I interrupted because I kept laughing so much that who his other people he thinks I invited were. But that was great. Drew's a good friend and really good at what he does. Let's give some predictions for this game because we're an hour 10 in and we got a couple more games to go.
Yeah, so he's got me thinking Georgia, but I'm gonna go with my gut here. I think Florida's actually gonna cover in the game. As a double-digit dog last year, Napier was 3-0 against the spread, 2-0 in conference. This is also the start of a tough stretch for UGA. You've got this next week, Missouri, then Ole Miss, then Tennessee. So we're about to see what Georgia's all about. And if you're a Georgia fan, you probably feel good right now because I've been on the wrong side of this pretty much every time I've flip flopped. I bought all in on Georgia, especially against Vandy after that Kentucky game. Took a step back, but when I was betting against them, they cover the spread. So Georgia probably covers, but I'm going to pick Georgia 31, Florida 23.
There's nothing that Florida has that makes me think they win this game at all. Kirby hates Florida. I mean, hates Florida.
Yeah.
There's also been several times I can think of in the past where I remember being on shows with like Cannell and McElroy in like the summer, and they would be looking at early lines, like when Circa would release like their game of the year odds. And it's like, what's the lock of the year? And I remember 3 years in a row, I was like, it's Georgia. Like 2017, 2018, 2019. It was like, it's Georgia. It's Georgia. It's Georgia over Florida. It was 3.5 1 year, 7.5 1 year. It obviously looks like Vegas is caught up, right? 14.5 is a scary, scary number. There's nothing that tells me that Georgia should lose this game. But it's been a while since we've said some positive shit about Florida. It's just been a while since we've said anything positive about Florida. And I'm going to blow up my load early on this one, excuse my language, because there's going to be some opportunities coming up where Georgia's going to actually have to play some people, which they haven't had to do all year. And if you want to say Kentucky is really good, you don't know football and you're an idiot. I just also realized that this is stupid because Kentucky boat raced Florida. But here's the thing. It's a rivalry game. You're in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Georgia has had all of like the recipe and like the ingredients for a recipe for disaster. And there's not a game that would mean more to whoever they're playing all year than this game against Florida. And enough spooky things can happen down there in Jacksonville, especially this close to Halloween. I don't think Georgia's that good. I'll say it. I will tell you right now, confidently, I am so much more scared of LSU as an Alabama fan than I am of Georgia. If we get to Atlanta, we're beating Georgia. I'm not worried about Georgia.
Man,
I don't think we're going to get to Atlanta here. But I'm not scared of Georgia. There's nothing that Georgia does outside of complain on social media that makes me think that they're an elite program. That's the only thing they do elite. And I hope this motivates everybody.
This is the clip.
This is the Florida IG clip. In the upset of the century, Florida, 28-27.
You couldn't even say it in front of Butler. No, I won't. This will not stand.
Over here with my little baby crib. All right, where are we going next? Let's wrap this up. We can. I definitely want to talk about this game. Do we want to? Okay, let's do this one real quick. This is all you. You go ahead.
All right.
Nobody's gonna watch this clip on YouTube.
Nobody's gonna watch this clip on YouTube, but it's fine. 12 p.m. on Fox. Number 6 Oklahoma 7-0 at Kansas 5-2. Kansas plus 10. Total 65.5. Jalen Daniels doubtful to questionable to play in this game. Lance Leopold says he expects Jason Bean to be the starter. Give me Oklahoma. They got the scare last week. I feel like Kansas's defense is not great.
No.
And I think the OU defense is really good. They're susceptible to the explosive play, but Kansas isn't producing a ton of them this year. So
yeah.
I think OU got their scare last week. Should be focused in this week. Oklahoma 38, Kansas 24.
Yeah, I think Kansas could see. I think that we could see a couple of moments early where maybe they hit a couple big plays, maybe similar to Texas, right? Where it's like, oh, you look up and it's like they're somehow in this game, but they're not doing much to make them in this game. But it's like 24-17. I like Oklahoma. I like Oklahoma big. What was the score you gave?
38-24.
Yeah. So I'm going to take Oklahoma 34-17. I don't think it's that close. I think it might be closer, like I said, and that's about it. Let's go. Do we want to do Louisville Duke? Because no one cares about that either. I don't. No. You know what? I'll veto it. We're not going to do it. I made the graphic. It doesn't matter. Let's get into the last two games and their SEC games. Let's talk about the trophy game, Tyler. The trophy game. Did you know that Texas A&M and South Carolina play for a trophy?
I did not.
Well,
I wouldn't have thought that because A&M has not been in the SEC that long. So did they just create a trophy for this game?
They did. Also, let's see if I can find this. I got to show you one of my favorite pictures in the history of pictures. That is from this. Like this is games. They were like, you know what? Like A&M just got here. Let's make sure that they have like a reason. They have something to play for. This is my favorite picture, maybe in the history of rivalry trophies. You ready for this?
Oh, what is that?
He's got fucking gloves on. First off, the bottom trophy, and this is your drunk history moment of the week. Let's talk about it. The bottom trophy, for those of you that don't know, you uncultured idiots, it is a trophy that has become the prize of the annual SEC cross-division matchup between the Aggies and the Gamecocks. This is my favorite thing. This is an actual quote. As recently as 2018, several Aggies players and A&M officials were asked about it and its whereabouts, and almost all of them were unaware it existed. A&M won this for like 8 straight years until last year when Carolina finally won it. And I will never forget this. They asked Will Muschamp about it, and he's like, we've never won it. So I've never seen it. I've just never seen it. And then they asked A&M, like, where do you guys keep it? Like, is it in the trophy case? And they're like, we don't know. They didn't know where it was.
It was supposed to fill up.
Yep.
With championships.
Never miss an opportunity to be petty. One A&M. They didn't even put the bottom trophy in there. Hold on. This is from an article in 2021. One A&M administrator said he had last seen it in 2014.
Oh man.
This is an.
Do you have any? Let me ask you this: do you have any interest in watching this game at all?
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna tell you why in a second.
You do? Why?
Bonham. Okay. Bonham was a South Carolina political aide who became a hero at the Alamo and was the natural choice for the subject of an award linking A&M and South Carolina. He was an 1827 alumnus of South Carolina and rode from the Alamo with Colonel William Barrett Travis with his request for reinforcements, then returned to fight after the request was denied. Colonel Travis was also a native of South Carolina. So what happened to the sculpture of James Bonham after its creation for the Aggies 2014 game against South Carolina? That's it. Okay. Well, That's all. That was it. That was the whole.
That
I thought there'd be more to it. Like maybe he was a hero, but
was the first time you read that, huh?
yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So
Came prepared. All right, now here's the thing. A&M South Carolina. I went on a show today and I got in trouble with South Carolina fans because I hurt their feelings by telling them
Okay.
exactly what their program is. I'm interested in
Ooh.
watching this game for 1 to 2 reasons. It'll be a more high scoring
watching
shit
a car wreck?
show. Huh?
it's like watching a car wreck. You're
Yeah.
like, I shouldn't be watching this, but I have to watch.
Yeah. It is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
This is like, when you watch a movie you're not supposed to be watching because you get in trouble if your significant other found you watching that movie, that type of movie, and then it's over, and immediately as it's over, you're like, ooh, why did I do this? This is that, but it's 3.5 hours of it. You're like, ooh, this is awful.
Wow, that is
Graphic.
descriptive. Jeez.
Here's why I'm watching this game. I'm probably only watching the second half if it's close, but here's why. South Carolina has a really good chance to do what South Carolina does best, and that is ruin someone's season. They did it last year to Tennessee.
Yeah.
They did it in 2019 against Georgia when they went on the road and beat them. I wouldn't say it ruined the season, but you know what I mean. Carolina has a really good chance here to get Jimbo Fisher fired. And I know that there's not a lot of positive things for this Carolina fan base or team to look forward to. And there's not a lot of reason for optimism here because A&M's coming off a bye week. Don't you have a Jimbo Fisher bye week stat?
Well, I don't have a specific stat, but it's been bad.
It's been bad, right?
Yeah. It has.
So Jimbo coming off a bye, and instead of usually bringing the troops together, it's usually kind of when they fall apart. They also lost 3 of their front 7 off a really, really good front 7. Now, this is a defensive unit that leads the country, I believe, in sacks with 29, and Carolina's ranked 129th out of 133 teams in sacks allowed. That being said, there's no reason for me to say this, but I just think that South Carolina goes on the road and ruins Jimbo's life.
That is putting the absolute dagger through the heart of a man who's already slowly dying.
Yeah. I'm looking at the number right now. Actually, I'm not because I don't have it pulled up, and we didn't look it up beforehand, but I think A&M loses this game, and I think that Carolina
so bad.
Like staves off, I think that's a word, losing their bowl eligibility for another week. And I think Carolina wins this game 24-23.
Oh my God, that would be so bad for
Yeah. What do you got anything on that?
I just don't. It's 14.5 for Texas A&M, total 54. I mean, I feel like if I really was going to bet the game, I'd probably bet Carolina in the points. There's no way I'd take a money line. So I'll probably go Texas. It's going to be ugly. Texas A&M 23, South Carolina 17.
Okay. All right. And your final game of the week, I'm going to give you. Well, you start, and then I'll break it down.
What, Tennessee, Kentucky?
Tennessee, Kentucky. Tennessee heads to Kentucky. Kentucky's coming off a bye. Number 21, Tennessee, off of a pretty deflating loss to the refs. I mean, to Alabama, depending on who you ask. Joe Milton played really well for 30 minutes of football. Now he's got to go on the road, a place where he's somewhat struggled, I think. They lose that game against Florida. They lose the game against Alabama. Kentucky off a bye. We've seen Kentucky for 7 games this season. It's a 3.5-point spread. Kentucky is a 3.5-point home underdog. Night game at Kroger Field. What do you think?
All right. So Tennessee, if I have my numbers right, have they only lost this game 3 times since 1997?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kentucky 6-1 against the spread against ranked opponents as a home dog the last 5 years. 7-1 overall as a home dog the last 5 years, but 6-1 against ranked opponents against the spread. I also worry about Tennessee's mindset in this game. Coming off that I don't know if it's like a the old like Bama blows, like you're coming off the Bama game. A lot of times people physically were affected going into the next game. I
Yeah.
feel like Bama's at that level still. I haven't really looked at the stats for it this year, but it just feels like this time of year is when you're always watching a Kentucky night game on TV and they're upsetting somebody at home. Tennessee is 121st in the country in explosive rushing plays allowed. You can hit big plays against them, and Kentucky has done that with Ray Davis. They're second in the country in rushing explosiveness. So I think Kentucky's gonna be able to keep this close. And Kentucky was 4-1 against the spread off a straight up loss last year. Well, they were straight up off a loss last week, and they got boat raced by Missouri. So it's not gonna happen again, right? Come on. Like they think they can get up off the deck at home at night for an inspired effort against a division rival. I'll go Tennessee 26, Kentucky 24, but I'm considering Kentucky money line.
So you are.
Yeah, because Joe Milton is just not good, man.
So I will build you up before I break you down, Kentucky. Kentucky coming off a bye, that's got to be good for them. They're playing a Tennessee team that is a wounded animal, and we'll see how they respond to that. There have been a lot of blowouts in this rivalry, like you said. Kentucky and Tennessee. Kentucky has 3 wins since 85, not 97. They have 3 wins since 1985.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, I will also say they've all come within the last 13 years. And in the last, let's see here, in the last 3 games in Lexington, okay, Kentucky has won one of them, and the other 2 have been within 3 to 4 points each time. So I'll build you up before I break you down. Kentucky is a shit football team. Kentucky is not a good football team. They're not good. They're not good. And I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending like, oh, it's a great story. So we have to pretend like just because we like Mark Stoops, because we do. Just because we like the running back, because we do. Great story. Hell of a game against Florida. We'll always pull for him against Georgia. It's a lot of fun. I think Kroger Field is an underrated atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. Not a good football team. And I'm tired of pretending like just because we like the story means we have to pretend like they have a chance to win this game. Because here's a little spoiler alert for you, Tyler. They fucking don't. Tennessee is going to go into Lexington and beat the absolute brakes off of Kentucky. Lock of the week.
Wow.
Tennessee, and I don't like to take a point spread when it's this close. Lock of the week, Tennessee covers 3.5. Tennessee will beat them by at least 14 points. And if you think that's crazy, here's why I don't think it's crazy at all. Josh Heupel is 7-1 in the 8 games he's had coming off a loss as the head coach at Tennessee. They have won those 7 games by an average of 38.3 points per game. And in those 8 games total, they have averaged 51.8 points scored per game. Tennessee will go in and beat the fucking brakes off of Kentucky, and they will win this game, I will say 41-17.
Wow. That is what I like to hear. A little confidence.
Yeah. What was your score?
Tennessee 26, Kentucky 24.
Okay. It's a little bit different. All right. I got to go watch Gotti on Netflix. Tell everyone where they
All right. We appreciate everybody listening to the show. It would really help us in the growth of the show if you'd rate us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. Leave a review. We will read the best ones on air. And like and subscribe to the YouTube page. Leave a message. 770 674 8233. Don't forget to check out all the videos and clips from the show on social media. On Twitter at SatDownSouth, on Instagram and TikTok at Saturday Down South, and on YouTube, Saturday Down South. For Chris, I'm Tyler. Good luck this weekend. Call the hotline. We'll talk to you on Sunday night.